Hello, in this lecture we will create the statement of activities. We will create the statement of activities from the trial balance. Trial balance over here in column AA, the trial balance having been created from the data way over here. Data has been entered into the transactions in the blue cells, and those blue cells have then been recorded or posted to the blue column here, indicated, meaning we have the beginning trial balance. The adjustments are posting of the journal entries, ending trial balance. We're going to be creating the financial statements from the ending trial balance, starting with the statement of activities. We know we are in balance by the fact that the total debits minus the total credits equals 0. Therefore, the financial statements must work. So we're going to start off with the statement of activities, where we then have the column for the expenses, and we're going to have the expenses, and we then have the program revenues, and then we'll have the total column, which will take the difference between the expenses and the program revenues. So we're going to start off here with the governmental activities, and we're looking for the general government activities. So we're going to scroll down to the expense item for the general government activities, which will be this 286,167. It's going to be this item here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to paste it 1, 2, 3 in CAC 9, pasting it 1, 2, 3, double click on it, and then delete the first part, and I'm just going to leave the the general government. Then in the expense section, we're going to say that that is equal to, scrolling down, and we're looking for the general government, that item there, and enter. So that's going to be the amount for the expense side. Then we have the charges for services. So we're going to put the charges for services, the revenue portion here, and the revenue is going to have a credit balance. So I want to flip the sign. So I'm going to say negative instead of equals. And then we're going to look for the charges for services, which is going to be this item here. It's going to be that 462,330, and we'll say enter, and we have that item. So then we're going to scroll over, and we're going to pick up the primary government, the governmental activities. This will basically be the difference between the revenue and the expenses. It looks a little funny that what we are useful that we started off with the expenses, and then we had the revenues, and then we're going to take the difference here. We're basically going to take the formula, the sum of these cells, meaning the revenue minus the expenses. So it's going to be basically the 462,330 minus the 286,167. If we do that with a formula, then we're going to say it's going to be equal to the sum of these three cells, brackets, minus this cell, and enter. So we have that, and then we're going to equal the sum of these cells, and that's going to be the total that we'll have for the primary government. If we were to mark this off as we go, then we could say that we have the total here, so we found that and make that yellow, and then we could scroll down to this item here and say we've done that, and we can make that yellow, and then once we complete all the yellows, we should have basically the temporary accounts, the income statement type of accounts accounted for. Next item, we're looking for public safety. So public safety on the expense side, so here we have public safety in X40, right click, copy. Scrolling back up, we're going to say public safety, right click, paste 1, 2, 3, and double click on it. We're going to delete the expense part of it. We will now pick up the expense for public safety. So we're going to go here in AD10, and we're going to say that that equals, and we'll scroll down to the expense area, and we're looking for the public safety, which is right here. We're going to pick up that 673,537 and enter. So there is that number. We're going to scroll back down here, and I'm going to indicate that that has been selected by making it yellow. We're then going to pick up the related income. That's going to be this item here, program revenue, public safety. So we've got the expense in this column. Now we just need to pick the correct column. In this case, we're going to say public safety belongs in the program revenue section of operating grants and contributions. So we're going to pick it up here. This is going to be revenue. We want it to be a positive number here. It's a negative number on the trial balance because it is a credit. Therefore, I'm going to flip the sign by saying negative rather than the equal sign. Scrolling back down to that item being this 110,000, and enter. So there we have that. Then I'm going to scroll back down. I'm going to indicate that we have done this one here by making it yellow. There's that information. Okay, so then we're going to have in the outer column here, we're going to say that we have the difference. And again, I'm going to do the same calculation we did up here. We could copy and paste it down, but we're going to say that it's going to be these items minus the expense items. So I'm going to do that with a formula equals the sum of the revenue items, which is going to be this, and this, brackets minus the expense of that, and there we have it. We're going to pull that over to the outer column. I'm just going to copy and paste this formula down in order to do that, and what that did is just pull this down here. All right, then we're going to go to the public works. Public works will be the next item, public works. And we're looking for the expense. So I'm going to look for the expense first in cell AD by saying equals in cell AD 11. And we're going to say equals, and we're looking for the expense for public works. And here we go, expense public safety, expense public works is that 410, 484, and enter. So we have the expense item. I'm going to scroll back down. I'm going to make it yellow, indicating that we have completed that item. There is no income side to the public works, so that's all going to be just the expense that we're going to pull over, but we're going to use the same formula. We're going to say this equals the sum of the program revenues, which we don't have any, but I'll just use the same formula. And we're going to say brackets, and we're going to say minus the expense. Okay, something happened to this formula. We're going to say equals the sum of these three cells, brackets minus this cell. And that should give us a negative number. We're going to pull that down over here in the total column as well by just copy and pasting the formula or autofilling. Next item we're going to have is culture and recreation. Culture and recreation, we're going to select tab, we're going to scroll back down, we're in AD12. So within AD12, I'm going to say that equals, and scroll back down to culture and recreation on the trial balance. We're looking for the expense of culture and recreation in cell AA42. So there we have that. And the related expense account for culture and recreation, we're going to say it goes into the category of charges for services. So that's going to be an income account. We're going to flip the sign by saying instead of equals, negative, and then scroll back down. We're looking for the revenue related to culture and recreation. And here it is up top right here. That's the 35,188 and enter. Then I'm going to scroll back down. I'm going to make these zeros. I mean, not zero. I'm going to make them yellow, indicating that we have done that. And we have the culture and recreation that we have picked up here as well. So there's the culture and recreation. Then we're going to take the same calculation here, which is program revenues minus the expenses. So we're going to say this equals the sum of the three cells here, program revenues, brackets, minus the expense, and enter. Then we're going to pull this down. We're going to bring it back down to the total column as well once again. Next, we're going to look for interest expense. Interest expense, we're going to be in cell AD13 equals, scrolling down to the income statement looking for interest expense. That's going to be this last item, 19,866, and enter. I'm going to make that yellow, indicating that we have found a home for the expense for interest. All right, and we're not going to have any revenue related to the interest expense. So we're going to use the same formula, however, equals the sum. And obviously we can, pull the formula down, but I just want to indicate this formula that it's going to be the revenues minus the expense. And we have this item there. All right, then we're going to have the total government activities is going to be our subtotal. Total governmental activities tab, then we're going to sum this up. So I'm going to say equals SUM brackets and summing up this column. We're going to sum up all of the columns, and so therefore I'm going to put my cursor on cell AD14 and copy it across, and there we have that. Excel has auto-filled these, so let's see if it did what we want. So notice it's picking up the correct number, but really I'd like it to do it from top to bottom rather than this formula here. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete these. Excel tried to help us out there, but we're gonna put a slightly different formula, although that one does kind of work. And this will be the formula, and we'll pick it up this way. So we're summing up top to bottom, and just watch when Excel does that, it tries to anticipate what the next formula will be sometimes. So next one we got business type activity, and then we're going to put the colons, and then we're just going to bring down the numbers to the total primary governmental. Therefore, we're just going to say equals SUM brackets highlighting, bringing this number down. We're going to highlight that and pull it across. And I'll do the same thing for the last couple here. I'm going to pull that across. We can delete this 0. We don't really need that there. And there are those numbers. Then we're going to have the total governmental revenues, and we're going to pull in the taxes. So we're going to start with the real property. Real property. We will be over here in AH19, and again, it's going to be a revenue account, so we're going to flip the sign by hitting, instead of equals, negative, and then scrolling over, and we're scrolling down to the dark blue. We're looking for the real property, so it's going to be right here, and that 671, 628, that's what we're looking for. Going to scroll back down, going to make that yellow, indicating that we have picked that number up. Then we're going to take on the sales. So sales tab, and the number is going to be here in AH20, negative of, and we're going to scroll back down looking for the sales number, which is going to be that sales tax, this 180,000, and enter. Going to make that yellow, indicating that we have picked that number up. The next item we're going to have here is interest and penalties. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this time. I'm going to try this. Copy that. And then I'm going to paste it 1, 2, 3. Just the values. And then I'd like to get rid... Actually, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to paste it here, 1, 2, 3. And then I would like to get rid of everything other than the interest and penalties, like so. And there is that. I'm going to shift it back this way a bit. Okay, I think that's okay now. So then we're going to say in AH21, I'm going to say this is a negative of, scrolling back down to this 3,000 credit, and enter. So there's the 3,000 credit there. Going to make this yellow, indicating that we have now picked that up. That's going to give us a subtotal we can pull in now, which is going to be total general revenues. Total general revenues, we're going to just sum this up by saying the equals SUM brackets, sum those up, and the total column will remain the same. So I'm just going to sum them up this way. I'm going to say sum of these two cells, and enter, and just pull that down. That's all we got. And then I'm going to copy this cell down. Again, if we copied it this way, it would work. See, but I would rather have the formula going the other way, so I'm going to copy this cell and paste it there. And now we're summing top to bottom rather than left to right. I'm going to format this. We're going to put our cursor here and go to the Home tab, the font group, and put the underline there. We've got the double underline here. There's that. Change in net position will be our next line item. And I'm going to tab over, and we're going to say the change in the net position then is equal to this 983,099, and I'm going to say plus this 854,628, and enter. And obviously that results in a subtraction problem because this is a negative number and that's a positive number. And I'm just going to copy and paste that formula over here in the total column as well. Next, we have the net position as of the beginning of the time period, January 1st. We're going to tab over, and we're going to say the net position as of January 1st. What we're looking at in terms of the net position are these beginning balances. It's similar to us looking at, if we're looking at a sole proprietor, looking at the capital account before we close out the net income to the capital accounts. So we're saying that these light blue accounts are going to be the capital accounts, and of course, then we close out, similar to closing out the income statement, the temporary accounts to the capital, what are similar to the capital accounts. So in this case, we're going to call this the net position, and therefore we're picking up these three accounts at the beginning. So we're going to say that I want to add these up, which gives us the 18,137,499, then flip the sign. So in order to do that, I'm just going to say instead of equals negative SUM and pick up those three numbers. And there we have that. So that's the net position as of January 1st. Now this is the change, meaning this is representing all these yellow accounts that we picked up. The temporary accounts kind of similar to, on a for-profit, kind of similar to the income statement accounts, the timing accounts. And those add up to the 128,471, similar to net income. What we're saying here then is that we're going to add up the net income in this case, or what's equivalent to the net income, to the beginning net position, which will give us the net position, similar to us saying that we had the beginning capital account plus the net income or minus the net loss, giving us the ending capital account. So we're putting that net position into the timing statement here, into the statement of activities. So now we're going to have the net position for December 31st. So I'm just going to copy that down, net position for December now. The end of the time period, the end of the year, is just going to be equal to the sum of these two cells. What happened during the year in terms of timing, change in net position, which is kind of like net income, what happened in the temporary accounts, and the net position at the beginning. This is what we should then end with. And we can check that. We can say, do all the blue accounts add up to that? Credits minus the debits, credits winning 18,009,028. 18,009,028 looks correct. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to copy this and paste it there as well. Actually, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to say this equals this number. All right, and then we pull that over. So that's going to be it for the statement of activities.